This is the Awkward Handshake, a podcast about networking, business, and what really happens in the room.
We're unpacking the good, the bad, and the awkward so you can build better connections and get paid.
Let's get into it. Megan, we have an amazing episode today. We are going to have Kel Moody on as our guest.
Yeah.
It was such a good conversation. And we're going to talk about what do you bring to your community when you network? Juicy question.
I think we assume when we, get in our car and go out to the networking place that it's my business card and, whatever I'm selling, basically. That's all I have to offer. And I think you get a better experience if you can widen what you offer. And I'm not saying like you have to come up with something on the spot, but just kind of reminding yourself that you are a multidimensional person with thousands of things that you can offer and many different ways to connect with people. Because we've certainly had conversations where we have chatted with somebody and shared like, where did you get an outfit? Who cut your hair? Where do you take your cat to the vet? There's all these weird things in addition to just, this is normally how I help people in a business way. And I think we're kind of moving forward in this timeline that we're on with authenticity and community. It is being this more multidimensional person that is of value to a community and allows you to belong in it in a deeper way than just the BNI person.
I do believe you are talking about diversity, and that diversity also lives within you.
Yeah. If you're interesting. I mean, we've met some where you're like, I don't know.
I feel like those people are masking. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit. Because
I hope so, because otherwise I'm always like, wow.
I think everybody is interesting. You might not be my kind of interesting that I want to spend a whole time around.
Yeah.
But I do think that everybody has very diverse, interesting things about them. But if you hide it, you become very, very boring very quickly because you become beige, become like everybody else. And people can see through that bullshit real fast, which Kel talks about in our chat with them today. And so we're going to move right on into our discussion with Kel. But first, we want to introduce Kel to everybody. We have known Kel for a while, but somebody listening to this might not. So Kellen, who goes by Kel Moody, is a community cultivator and placemaker. As the founder of Alluvium Gatherings, they create and uplift movements through the design, planning, and implementation of gatherings. They have a passion for convening communities and leading teams to create meaningful experiences. Through their deep networks of relationships across the bioregion, they have led dozens of small and large-scale events, including the week-long virtual festival of What Works, hosted by Salmon National Trust. They have also worked in and around the certified B Corp community, using business as a force for good since 2016. They serve on both the B Local PDX board and Build Local Alliance board, based out of Portland, Oregon. Kel deeply believes that developing a strong sense of place is one of the most meaningful pathways to purpose, and that gatherings have the power to motivate collective impact to drive real and meaningful change. We also know Kel for being on the board of ORPIB, which is Oregon Pride in Business, the LGBT chamber for the area. And so with that, we're going to dive into the episode with Kel. Hey, Kel, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, I'm really excited to chat with you all.
We really want to have a chat about what it's like to be an organizer on the board of ORPIB, which is the LGBT chamber in the Portland metro region. And you're also heavily involved in the B Corp community, which is incredible.
I just came up on 10 years in the B Corp community.
What?
This is my
Whoa.
10th year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you came to some of Megan and mine private networking parties.
Yeah.
And you're a great contributor there too. And so clearly you have networking skills, my friend. We talked before we hit record that it would be really good for other people to hear from a quality organizer with reputable organizations. What are some of the best things people can do when it comes to having better connections within organizations like that, getting involved, making good connections, and then maybe also some cautionary tales of things that you have seen, which I'm sure you have.
Probably too many. Well, I would say, first of all, as a white-bodied person who is masculine presenting, I often kind of try to take up as little space as I can, and more so spend my energy on stewarding other people's involvement. Although I do participate, I think I really think about how can I act as a steward to other people's experiences is really actually what led me to be an event planner, because I really like to create this experiences for other people to have, maybe to a fault almost in some ways, but I really think it's important to use the really unwarranted privilege that people just automatically give me because of the perceived identity that I have. Well, the real and perceived, to kind of distribute that to other people. And, you know, unfortunately, because of the color of my skin and the fact that people look at me and think that I'm a dude, people will pay attention to what I say more in any space, unfortunately. Whether or not it's a queer or conscious or progressive space, it's still like it's so societally ingrained.
Oh, really?
That, that people actually just automatically think that I know things, or they'll listen to me more. And I'm like, this is so weird. Going from being a femme presenting person to a very obviously queer but female bodied person to a now perceived male, even though I'm still like identify as non-binary, the difference in the way that people interact with me has been one of the most like shocking experiences of my transition. It's not necessarily surprising because we all will hear these stories. If I was a man, I know I could walk into a hardware store and that people wouldn't question me as much, or they wouldn't talk to me the way that they do. It's so 100% true, but it's not just the obvious places like the hardware store, the auto shop. It is anywhere in any community space. And so I have like really tried to be conscious of that. And first of all, a lot of conversations I have with other trans masculine people is like, how can we steward masculinity in a different direction? But also like, how can we use it against itself? And so a lot of the way that I approach my work is how can I take this power that I've been granted and like use it to disrupt that power? I feel like I didn't answer your question at all.
No, you led us down a fantastic path. I have so many questions. Like, I want to know everything from how you approach disruption, having a unique perspective of living life, female presenting, and then also male presenting, and then spectrum in between. And then also wondering for our community that listens to this podcast, people have their own gender identities as well, and they present however they present. And it's like when you're thinking about, well, how do I get better at networking, or how to get more out of networking, especially in the area we're in, is there something that people need to do based on their gender presentation that would be better for like collectively better for everyone? Because I mean, I have to say, I have met a lot of male identifying and male presenting people in the last couple of years since we doubled down on doing local work, because in my online experience, it was so female heavy. I was so pleasantly surprised by how much support I got from a lot of my dudes. Not universally. Sure. There was somebody we were talking about before we hit record, and we were like, this guy will never acknowledge women, doesn't make eye contact, will like literally walk away from you in the middle of a conversation.
At the networking events.
Events.
He will try to lead other men away from us.
Yeah, I mean, there are those. There are those out there.
But then I've had these fantastic champions that have come through, and I know, Megan, you've had it too.
Yeah.
And I wonder.
Not all men, right?
Right. Oh God.
The sweetest thing too is it doesn't even occur to them that they're unusual.
That's the thing, is that there's a complete, and you can't blame them. Like, they have the lived experiences of people are there. You can't change people's lived experiences. Yeah. And you can't, you say walk a mile in someone else's shoes, but you really actually can't do that. That's impossible. Unfortunately. I wish it were. We're not all Freaky Friday out here. So having had like multiple lived experiences, I try to talk about it as much as possible, especially to men. And even if they can't feel it in their bodies, they can hear the stories and they're like, whoa, okay, interesting. I think there are really great champions that do know how to ride that line between using their power, or I guess really the intention behind the use of the power. Is the use of the power in order to disrupt those situations, or is it in order to take advantage of it? And it really comes down to like, is this for the good of the collective or for the good of me? To me, the way I see it is the good of the collective is also for the good of me. But the hierarchy intentionally is the collective first. That doesn't mean I like ignore my own needs, but it means that I know that serving my collective is going to benefit me more greatly in the long run than if I only tried to focus on serving myself.
May I just point out that your career, your body of work, the relationships you have, the leadership positions you have are clearly directly correlated to what you just described, which is I give to others not all expecting first for them to give to me. And that's been something that Megan and I have noticed as a pattern with people in networking is they're looking for what do I get first instead of how do I be part of a collective and help others just as much before I know I'm getting something, and
Yeah. I mean, actually, to me, that is how you find true belonging is through reciprocity, because people who show up in order to offer value, and I think this is where we really kind of miss the idea of purpose. Every person in a community has their own unique abilities or skills or lived experience. And that is valuable, right? And the more diverse lived experiences, skills, abilities that a collective has, the stronger it is. I think we all know that to some degree. But I think it's really about like, how do I figure out how to tap into that in order to serve my community? Because at that point, once you really start to be living in that reality of like, I am valuable to my community because I'm contributing to my community, the way that that makes you feel is really incredible. Because you feel like, oh my gosh, I mean something and I am part of something, and you hold a valuable place in that community. That's not to say that that's very self-important, but it's like there's this deep sense of belonging when you understand how much value you are giving to your community and how much that's making the community better. So it's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. When you figure out what your part is in that whole, there's like this harmony that gets created, and that's not individualistic. It's actually like deeply reciprocal, a deep sense of belonging. So it's really about authenticity, I think.
So one question that comes up in my mind, given networking events and things like that, is I can hear people kind of saying, does that mean I need to give everything for free? Or is some of the value in my services to the community? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
because I can see some people being like, so I just have to volunteer for everything. But it is also like what you offer the community in helping other people.
yeah, there's an exchange.
With exchange of money.
It doesn't have to be necessarily purely transactional. I mean, it has to be in some degree because we live in capitalism, unfortunately. But that's what we're working with. So how do we find that balance between, okay, we all need to make sure that we can survive and thrive in this current economic system that we're forced to be within. But it's things like, so as a business owner, I absolutely have to have my bookkeeper support. I need to have different various services that I use.
we share the same bookkeeper.
I know.
Shout out to Alex.
We love
They're
Alex.
making little hearts.
I'm going to brag about what I did with Alex is I
Yes.
pretty much like pressured him to start a business because I was like, trust me, Alex, I just alone, I know enough people that would use your services that would probably be enough for you to survive off of it. And it turns out that was true. But he's also like just taken off and thrived on his own. But like that to me is like part of like I needed a bookkeeper. So I was like, yeah, there was a little bit of self-serving nature there for sure. But I was like, I'm willing to, because it doesn't take me that much to make introductions to many people for you, because that actually looks good for me too. It doesn't have to be just about the self-serving, but it's like when I, made that introduction to you, Mary, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is really helpful for me. How did that make you feel about me?
So much better.
Right?
Your value went up to me. It also confirmed things I already was suspecting, that you were a good person. And I was like, yes, more confirmation. Kel is a good person and has good connections in the community, has paid attention to what I need and what I need help with. And therefore, we're going to be able to continue talking about what we're each doing. And it's because it's reciprocity. I think we all know the difference when you approach somebody and you can tell that they just want something from you, or that they don't really pay attention because they want something from you, or they're just trying to access your connections because they want something from you. And we know that difference. And I always say it, to me, it feels like in business, I call them graduating classes. If you see people cluster together and they sort of rise together, because the whole saying, like a rising tide lifts all ships. Well, it's like, well, a rising tide lifts the ships that rise together. So who are willing to have reciprocity together. And I do see those clusters around us.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that was like a win-win-win.
Huge
right?
win. Huge
For
win.
everybody. Everybody benefited from that
Yes.
in some shape or form. platform. And that's not bad, right? It's not bad to benefit. So like in the sense of networking, I think, you know, the people that show up with this very surface approach of like, what can you give to me? I don't think they're asking themselves why enough and to what end, which I think one of the biggest problems with the system of capitalism is because the only answer that you end up getting if you ask why or to what end or for what enough times, you will always come back to power and money is power. So like that's the same thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing deeper than that. But why? Why do you need the power? For what? And to what end? And so I think people that are showing up without a deeper reason or why behind why do they want something from you, it's going to be really transparent. Whether you're an intuitive person or not, people can read that.
Yes.
Right. And so when you show up into a space to network, I think it's so important to be able to take some time with yourself to figure out why are you there? What are you offering first? And then what are you hoping to give in that order? Don't come with it with the approach of like, what can I get out of this? Because I guarantee you, if you come with the approach of what do I have to offer, you will get more out of it anyways. That's just the way it works. And you have to be a real person. People can see through that very quickly. And it's a huge turnoff. So you come and show up to some spaces and you're just doing the business card passing.
The spray and
like
pray.
It's like, why? For what? And to what end?
I feel so vindicated hearing you say this right now because you don't know this, but Megan and I have recorded a series of episodes. And my hot take has been people need to learn social skills. They don't have social skills. And you don't get better at social skills without going out and practicing them. So congratulations, you get to go out and you get to practice.
But it's intimidating. It's scary.
It's very intimidating. And you're going to have on days and off days and whatever. But I love the way that you have framed this, which is if you show up in a space and you're willing to really hear what other people are saying so you can see how can I help them, or is there somebody I know that they should meet, or even just words of comfort. Sometimes the world, we were talking before we hit record, the world is a dumpster fire on this glorious day in January 2026 when we are recording, and we're all tired and we're all stressed out with world events, and sometimes you just need to go in community and just be there to be like,
and also just acknowledge that.
just to acknowledge it.
You go to a networking event in this time right now
Yes.
that we're in, and someone asks you, how are you doing? And you're like, I'm good. People are going to be like, what is wrong with you?
Like, what are you drinking?
Yeah. Like,
I think it's funny you say that because I always answer honestly, and the looks I get from half the people are like, I didn't think, okay, we're going there. Like,
well, yeah, you
they
have
wanted
to.
the good. And I was like, well,
I mean, you don't
today
have to.
that, and then they're like, oh, she's actually going to answer me.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm in this conversation. And I was like, well, you shouldn't have asked, sweetie, if you didn't.
right. And honestly, the more that we can do that, the more it gets normalized. And people do need to be uncomfortable in that way. We don't want to make people uncomfortable in an unsafe way, but I think we do want to make people uncomfortable in a way that like helps them really expose themselves in a more vulnerable way, because that's how you get to authenticity. That's how you get to what your why is. That's how you get to your purpose. And that's how you get to feeling a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
No one's going to feel belonging if they're not being their real whole selves. That's not how that works.
But also to acknowledge that even if you're not as averagely uncomfortable as other people might be on any given day, doesn't negate their discomfort. And you kind of need to see that. Business is people. Like you need to be able to see how the people around you are feeling. Megan and I've collected incredible amounts of data, and it shifts and changes constantly. But we're like, wow, the theme that we keep seeing in this quarter is like there's a lot of people hunting for jobs right now, or we're noticing people seem really anxious, or we're noticing that overall the overall mood in the collective seems to be, you know, fill in the blank. And it has been very helpful for deciding like, do I want to launch that thing right now? Or am I talking about it the right way? Or is that useful? Do people even want that? And then to be able to ask people when you see them, because you're being maybe a tad more authentic, we hope, that you might get something good out of that. And so I love this angle that you're taking with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also about, I mean, as an event planner, there's also creating the container for that to be possible.
Please
right?
say more of that.
And I don't mean just like the physical space, but yes, the physical space does matter for sure. But it's also like just the tone you set. And that starts from the very first time that someone even hears about what you're doing. So like, what is the language you're using to describe what you're doing? How are you inviting people in? How are you helping them set their expectations of what's going to happen? There's nothing worse than showing up to an event without any information about what's going to happen, or what you're supposed to be doing, or how you're supposed to be showing up, or like, because that actually forces people into this like additional layer of thought around, what am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to be behaving? Where am I supposed to be right now? Why am I here? And that like takes them out of the moment.
I tried to explain that to somebody because what you explained is like what I do sometimes, like customer experience design, right?
Yeah.
Like every touch point. And I have the middleman who sold me my business insurance, and he puts on these events. And he's like, you haven't come to one. Tell me why not. And I was like, I'm the person who loves surveys. So I'm like, let me tell you. And I was like, I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know the point of this. And he's like, well, it's people I know. And I'm like, great. I don't know who you know. And he's like, well, it could be anyone. Maybe you're not adventurous enough to come out. And I was like, I don't know who's coming. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know what the dress code is. I don't even know where this is because it's not listed until I RSVP. So the anxiety is already going up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know how I'm going to get there. And I told him all that. And he's like, maybe you're just not adventurous enough to come to these things. And then he was like, but my best friend, a real estate agent, like he made friends with all the new people who came. And I'm like, he's a real estate agent.
Yeah.
The man will make friends with like a tree. Like
And,
it's fine.
but my
Like,
question is, are they real friends?
friends, or is he hoping it's a client? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think there's something really interesting about people's aversion to structure.
Yeah.
In that way, it's like people think that structure is stifling and it stops innovation and it stops
have an open
creativity.
office.
Because if you you have too many rules and too many boundaries, and I'm like, actually, no structure is more stifling.
Yes.
Too much structure, sure,
Yeah.
fine, I will jump on that train. But the tyranny of structurelessness it's an essay, very interesting. Recommend it. It's this idea that without any structure and any limitations, it's so easy to become completely frozen because you don't know what to do with nothing. A completely blank space, even for an artist, even for a musician, a completely empty nothing, no information, no input. You have nothing to work with. That I think happens in a lot of networking spaces. It happens in a lot of startups.
Yep.
Because they're like, we just want to be open to innovation. And it's like, actually, you need some boundaries. You need some specific ways in which you are asking people to behave. You're asking people to show up. And then within that level of structure, that actually can be extremely liberating because whether we like it or not, hierarchy exists. I know there are ways in which we can disrupt certain amounts of hierarchy or, try to create flat systems, but that also requires a lot of structure. A lot of structure. And that's, again, it's like setting expectations. How do we behave? How do we show up? What are the rules of engagement? How do we make sure there's accountability when the rules are broken? That is so important. That creates safety. It also creates a space for people to be like, okay, here are my bounds. Now I get to do whatever I want within these bounds, or I get to do it however I want within these bounds, but I understand the bounds. And that is, I think, one of the most important pieces of really any collective engagement, but I think it very much so in events.
Oh, that is so good, Kel. I think you have explained so many important things for listeners today. Probably going to have you back like a bajillion times to talk about more. But if there was one bit of advice that you could give people if they're heading to a networking event this week or tomorrow or someday in the future, what would you encourage them to do that would help them make better connections and not just be one of those people who's randomly spraying and praying a business card out there?
I mean, I think I said it is figure out what you have to offer and ask yourself why at least a few times. I think they say ask yourself why 5 times. And the 5th why is the one that really is the deep, meaningful one. But take some time before you show up to be like, okay, what value could I offer this community? If you know what the community is. If you're going to an event where that's been made clear. Or even if not, I guess, some sort of framework of what do I think would be valuable to other people? And then ask why would that be valuable? And then think about why that means something to you to offer. That's the mode you're operating from. And also just be a real person. You don't have to talk about your work. Actually, and maybe again to a fault. In my case, I get so far down into relationships with people in very business settings. And they're like, wait, what do you do again?
I didn't know what you did. That's why I had to research
What is your work? Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. Because I just don't talk about it that much. And I could probably do a better job of that.
We could all do a better job, I would say.
But again, I mean, actually, I have not had a single project that didn't come from a referral. None of my work comes from randos finding me. None of it.
I love this so much. I am such a champion with you on not leaning with work first. I've been championing this in my world for a few years now, which is what led to the studio. But talking about what used to be considered water cooler chat, talking about a TV show or a movie, you will find very quickly who's on the same level as as you. And you'd be surprised how much you all have referral power to each other simply because you actually get along and you can talk like normal human beings, and it doesn't have to be a capitalistic exchange. I think that it helps remove that capitalistic exchange. It brings the authenticity in.
But okay, so going back to just, I guess, thought on that specifically to Alex, for example.
Yeah.
I actually, hot take, did not really know how skilled he was at bookkeeping. He's extremely skilled.
Oh, I didn't.
Extremely. But I actually
either.
didn't know
No,
when
I
I was
didn't.
referring him.
I had no idea. You're going to love this story.
I didn't know.
I didn't know that Alex had worked in media. He is the absolute perfect bookkeeper to grow into a CFO for me for what I do. But when we met, we bonded over Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right. Yeah.
Because we both had animals named after the character Giles.
Yes. Love. I love that.
That was how we bonded. And we were like, oh, we have to keep in touch. And then we finally got together for coffee. We finally did talk about work and what we were doing.
And he actually is extremely good.
And he completely undersold himself in that conversation.
Oh, for sure.
And then
But
it
don't
was
we all?
time for me,
Right?
And it was time for me to change bookkeepers. And he was the first person I reached out to because I knew I had trust. He's going to
trust.
deal with my money. I need some trust there. And you know what? We have the best meetings.
And if we can't have fun, then what are we doing?
Then what are we doing?
Like, why? I mean, yes, like we're forced to live in capitalism. We have to, unfortunately, until it crumbles and falls. And I am patiently, not so patiently, waiting for that day. And as hard as it's going to be, and as painful as it's going to be, and as much harm as that is going to cause, it is inevitable. And while we're here, we got to do as much harm reduction as possible, and that means it's pleasure, joy, wherever we can find it.
Yes, agreed. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great.
We really enjoyed having Kel in the studio.
Yeah.
We pulled out some segments to help everyone, including ourselves, digest all of the conversation. The first theme really was belonging through reciprocity. And that is such a beautiful concept when you think about it.
I don't think I honestly had never put that together before until
Same.
hearing it from Kel.
Attaching all the words together and being
Yeah.
like, it's a reciprocity action. That's how you get belonging.
Yeah, because we all want to belong to something. And when you and I go to these events, like you can tell that there are some people who've been there over and over, who know them all. We've been to certain groups where it is very insular in the sense that everybody knows everybody for a very long time.
Oh, yes.
And there's a part of us as humans that really wants that. And I think a lot of us don't always know, how do I get that besides time? But I think it didn't even occur to me that it is through giving and listening as receiving that you can begin to belong somewhere.
I really loved that Kel talked a lot about diversity in this episode, which we have been wanting to have more and more on our season, because that lens matters, because reciprocity is the direct result of understanding someone else's experience, even if it hasn't been your own. And there were so many good mic drop moments that Kel gave us for that. And when I was digesting that for our notes, it really felt like reciprocity is really about mutual respect, like the true respect, not the performative kind. You don't get true belongingness without reciprocity. And I kept thinking, well, where does reciprocity come from? And I was like, oh, that's just straight up genuine mutual respect.
Yeah. I think honestly, it's almost sad to say, but I think we're kind of still surprised when we get it.
Because it makes you realize how much you don't have it.
Yeah. Especially for, us two being female, like when you get it from a guy and you're like, and he does it without even thinking, like it doesn't even occur to him that
We're
there's like,
so surprised.
yeah, he's so surprised that we're surprised. And it's like, no.
We're both thinking about the exact same person right now.
And we're like, how do I clone you? And also like, oh my God, you're so cute. Like, how do I like
Just the nicest
Pokemon? Like, how do I collect all of you? Are there any more of you in this room?
The mutual respect part is really important. I feel like the real crux of this theme that came out of our discussion with Cal really goes beyond those of us who organize community. Like, in order to participate in community and somebody else can organize it for you, it is still a two-way street. And it's really quite nuanced and complex. But if you come into a space and you don't respect it or the people in it, because you're like, what do I get? Then you're going to erode the sense of belongingness for people, and they're going to sense the bullshit from you. And then you feel like it's not a reciprocal space. I mean, you and I have had comments from people we know who were like, well, I don't feel like I got anything out of that. And now I look at it and I'm like, oh, my bullshit meters go off, which are terrible anyways. You have far better bullshit meters than I do.
You're one level down.
I'm lifting my little tiny soup
Your soup can.
my little tiny soup can. One day I shall be big and strong like bull like you.
No, because then you get jaded.
I love that you think that, and I'm like, it's a superpower.
But people do. I think at a gut level, you can watch how people move away from someone in a room, how quickly they will move. We've been in rooms where somebody enters, people notice, and the mood changes. It's like the blood in the water, like that one little drop, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh no, we need to change what we're talking about. Like we'll kind of shift away from that person or whatnot. And usually they don't notice it at all.
Are you suggesting that we are like schools of fish?
People move around like that, yeah.
I never thought about watching the room like that. Now I'm going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be so fascinating.
That's why at the end of the networking, I am on the floor because I'm processing, because I need to know where everyone is and what everyone's emotional state is for my safety. And that's just that's my 150-pound deadlift there, that like the training. So yes, I pay attention to how people move around a room and how frequently.
I'm realizing in this moment how much I camp out in like one corner.
You do, yeah.
I do. I camp out in one corner, and then people come to me, or sometimes I'll go to them, but then I bring them back to my corner. Like I'm like the fish that hides in the coral.
But maybe that's your other training. Like you've scoped out the optimum sightline spot.
I do have a thing. I do not like my back being open. I like to take the high ground, and I like to get a bird's eye view of everything. And I do watch people, and I pay attention to where is everybody flocking to? Is there somebody here I've really been wanting to talk to? How busy are they? I'm not going to go insert myself while the schools of fish are crowded around them. There have been many meetings in the past where that there's somebody I want to talk to, and like everybody wants to talk to this person. And I'm like, this is not the time nor the place.
No.
And I'm like, and I might tap them on the shoulder on the way out and be like, hey friends, see you later. And then they're always like, oh, hugs, bye. And then I will send them an email later.
Yeah, because you'll engineer it.
I'll engineer the expectation that I am sending them a message. So yeah, I have done that on many an occasion.
But that's not performative. I mean, that's you genuinely wanting to meet with them. And
I feel like it's an amount of respect because they're busy. I've had people who want to talk to me too, and I'm like, there's only so much conversation that can happen in a very loud room in this tiny little window of time. And well, if it's genuine business, we need to have a conversation outside of that space anyways. So why would I expect that person to drop everything for me in that moment? Like that is, I don't think, mutual respect.
No. And you're right. I mean, I think it does show respect because also they might be out for like a fun time. Networking is everywhere. And so in my mind, it's like when people see celebrities and then they go bug them.
Oh, well,
right?
After having worked in a celebrity industry.
Yeah.
Yes.
It would never occur to me to go bug them because I would hate them. They're not in the right setting for that to be taking place if they're out and about. But I think you're correct in that it is respect. If there is somebody, the one Mac, when we go from Mac's list.
Love Mac for Max.
Mac always has like 12 people
milling
milling around them.
So bad for him. So, everyone crowds him at every event. And I mean, he's so gracious and he loves talking with everybody.
But we would not go up to him and be like, I want to have a deep conversation with you right now. That's not respectful. That man he's just trying to have his hors d'oeuvres and deal with everyone that's coming for him. I think there's different ways to show the respect, but a lot of it's just listening too. Like active listening.
Yeah, totally.
Showing an interest. Feigning. I would even take feigning an interest sometimes.
What a foreign concept.
Because sometimes everyone just talks at you. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to do any business with you. Like, you're not letting me talk at all.
I'm realizing that I have a networking tell. And now when I say it, anyone who pays attention to this podcast is going to know. But I'm not a big drinker. But when there are events and there's like cocktails or whatever, if you see me with like a legit drink in my hands, Mary's had a really long fucking day. She's probably tired. And to come come talk at me in that moment, I'm literally just, and you'll see me start to gulp down the drink, and I'm a slow drinker, and I'll just be like, I'm going to suck this gin and tonic through this tiny little straw right now. And I'm like, and that's me disassociating completely from the conversation.
That's so that the words, so your mouth is busy, so the words don't come out of it.
It's a way to get the captions to change on my face so that they're not completely blatant. Because a lot of times when I have a choice, I'll pick soda water with lime. It might look like a drink, but if it's like clearly, obviously a cocktail, y'all
Be respectful.
you now know the tell. If you see me with a glass of wine in my hand, you know, because I will frequently choose mocktails or non-alcoholic just because I'm such a lightweight and I don't rely on alcohol to help me socially lubricate. So if you find me drinking a cocktail, it's because it has been a long day or a long week, or I'm like, gird your loins, got to get to this event.
So I think that segues well, though. You know, like Kel was talking about, like, how do you show up as your true self?
Yes.
And I think, you know, you admitting the only way we're like, I'm tired. That's your true self. You didn't fake your way through it.
No.
You didn't pretend.
Yeah. I'm usually pretty honest when people ask. I find that if I'm honest, it helps them create some reciprocity, I guess. Maybe that's a little bit of emotional labor on my part, but
I think for me, what it looks like is, we talked about it with Kel, like, I will answer questions honestly. How are you doing? It doesn't occur to me to just say, good, fine.
no, which is probably why I love having you as a friend, because you never answer the question like, I'm fine. There are people I have known and I don't have as close association with anymore, because if you ask them, how are you? And they're like, I'm great. And I'm like, wow, that has pixie dust and neon puffy paint all over it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And I love that you will tell people honestly how you're doing.
I think it's because I realized it comes from grocery store checkouts, because they always ask. And
That's because you go to Trader Joe's.
see, you don't like it. I have conversations. I mean, I know there's a guy there. He helped me buy a watch. Like,
Girl, I'm at Costco in the self-checkout lane with like 100 items in the cart, and I will scan every single one because I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
no, see, I'm so curious because I always want to know, like, what's the weirdest combo you've rung up today? But when they ask and you just give a response, they didn't care. They're trained to do it, and I don't like being invalidated. Every checkout person at Trader Joe's does know me, and they're like, you're memorable. I've been called that. They're like, you and your husband always match when you come, like you got the jackets, and then they're like, your style is so cute. And I'm like, I am like, what are you talking about? Half the time I'm not even dressed properly when I come here.
I keep thinking back to our introversion extroversion episode, and I'm like, girl, you sound like a fucking extrovert right now.
Yeah, maybe I am. I don't know anymore.
We're gonna find out by the end of the season.
I'm gonna have to take that quiz. But I feel like that's one of my ways that, like, I just can't. I refuse to mask in that way or follow that social norm. I want to have an actual conversation. If you're gonna open up your mouth and ask me how my day is, I will just be telling you. And you can see that half the people are very surprised that, oh, there was an answer. I'm actually gonna have to listen to this person now and have a conversation.
I feel like that's a true marker of self-esteem and confidence on who you are, and it ties in so beautifully to this note that came out from us having this conversation with Kel, because Kel brought up gender norms and gender identities, which are so important, and you and I have been wanting to have the conversation about like the queer experience. And we are in a part of the country that is very queer accepting and very normalized. Like people will come and they're like, where's the LGBT district? And we're like, everywhere. Like there's not one place, you know, there's not like one neighborhood.
It's not the Castro, yeah.
No. And so because of that, I think sometimes we kind of forget that other people feel certain things really strongly. And I think there's markers of self-esteem and self-acceptance. And that really came out in what we talked about with Kel. My favorite quote was, you cannot change someone's lived experiences. That it was such a great mic drop moment. I feel like if somebody wanted to go back and listen to that part again, it would help you recognize your own advantages and disadvantages. And before you step foot in a networking environment, understanding that about yourself is half the work you do. And dare I say it, But I think like to your point, honestly answering a social normative question, oh, hello, how are you? It's such an American thing to do. Oh, hello, how are you? And everyone's like, fine, 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 and then they move on. And you're like, I'm going to actually answer your question,
I'll make you regret that.
To change that interaction changes the reciprocity factor. It changes the respect factor. I mean, you're going to vet so much more quickly who can hang in that space with you and who doesn't. And you do. I mean, you really like vet people. And you're like, they didn't answer my question.
Even my therapist starts everyone with like, how was your week? And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's a big question, Stephanie. I'm like, okay, let's go into that.
This is like the neurodivergence quiz. Show me how you brush your teeth. And all of us who are not neurotypical are like, well, it depends on the toothbrush, and then there's the toothpaste, and then you have to.
Is this the morning or the evening?
Yeah, and like what happened? And it's like, no, the answer is to demonstrate the action of like brushing your teeth. Like that is the answer to the question, and we cannot do it.
No, like I gotta check in first. How am I doing? I don't know. How am I doing today?
Yeah, I just feel like it's such a great example of like a deeper way of showing up as your true self. And when you take that then deeper into gender identity discussion, it makes you realize where you've had fair and unfair advantages. And if you are aware of that when you walk in a room, you can then step up in a way that gives true reciprocity. Your connections to other networking connections are going to deepen quicker, faster, and then go more deeply as a result. And, Kel's discussion of experiencing life in a societal female identifying way and then male passing is to me so fascinating because I've never had that experience. And so for me, I'm always like, I just assume people look at me like I'm some like Powerpuff Girl or something. I feel like I'm always fighting against that.
Ditto. Yeah. And I think too, I think when we can kind of show that respect and we can open up and be honest about a lot of things, even like money, I think it really helps everyone because I've collaborated with people and been like, okay, here's who my client is, and this is what I'm charging. And you and I have both then asked men who do like a similar, like we ask, what would you charge? Actually, you helped me build AI bots.
Yes.
And we asked them, how much would you charge?
Yes.
And it's been, in my experience, it's been like 3 to 4 times more than I was going to. And I'm like, oh, man.
I mean, this is totally like a left turn for a second here. We'll take a little side quest trail.
Sorry.
But no, because this is so important. Because it does get into the gender normative things. Like there was a pop article that went viral towards the end of last year in 2025. And this woman did some research and found that women reported that their AI advice conversations were giving them advice to negotiate far lower for salaries than for men. And I can't tell you how many women sent me this article. And I went and looked at it and I was like, that is definitely a lived experience. It will not diminish that. And at the same time, I was like, the technologist in me was like, what was your prompt?
Yeah, what did you tell
Because
it?
what you put in is what you get out on a tool like that. And I had been providing custom GPTs and you had been one of my very, very early testers and you were like, holy shit, this thing is different. And I was like, oh, contraire, mon frère, this is not what we are experiencing. And I just kept digging into it. And I think that you realize that when you diversify your experiences that, oh, maybe I like live in a bubble. And when you're able to interact with people who aren't having that experience, you learn something from them.
The market's totally different than I thought. People are willing to pay so much more.
And in the way that I would prompt that chatbot to help me think through a scenario is very remarkably different than a female gender norm. And so, you can train your bot to treat you with female gender norms and you can train it to be essentially non-binary. Yeah. I mean, you could also train it to be very male centric, but I mean, whatever. But I prefer it to be gender neutral. Personally, I want as many high level observable outcomes as I can possibly see and go from there. And it will learn from you as a result and it will treat you accordingly. But I think you and I have been influenced because we started mixing up our gendered identity spaces by not only going to like women only events.
You gain a lot.
One of the final things that came up a lot in our discussion with Kel was making things fun. What a concept. And it really flipped the inner dialogue from, well, what can I get out of this to what can I offer in the room when you're thinking about how do we have fun? And the thing that I really walked away with from this discussion is that when you bring something to the table, frequently we attach it to things around fame and fortune. That I bring accolades to the table. I bring medals to the table. I bring whatever. I bring my fancy pants credentials to the table. And it's like, but what if the thing you bring is just a really great attitude?
I'll speak for both of us. That's kind of why we're kind of magnetic in that sense. We're both very memorable, very funny, and they
social skills.
We're curious, we listen, we're respectful. I think looking at how can you have fun at any event that you go to? I mean, that's why I ask the grocery store people, like, what's the weirdest combo you've had? I'm always just curious about a space that we go into. What's the history? How many hors d'oeuvres, when you look around the room, you're like, who's gone the most times? Like, who has just rated this thing?
It's probably me.
But it's like, how do you get to know people beyond the business and just have fun? Because you want to work with people that are fun, that you can get along with.
You mean you need them to be a human, a genuine human?
I mean, you think the bar will be pretty low.
It's
kind of on the
low.
floor.
It's that low. I think that this episode is so worth people re-listening to when they start feeling like they're tripping up on the connections that they might have or that they're not getting when they walk into rooms or they feel like they're not getting a result on something, because the talk around diversity externally to yourself as well as internally to yourself really came out in this episode with Kel. And I walked away with so many additional things that I had not considered before. Apparently now it is also being human. But, authenticity is this theme that has been running in the background of episode after episode. That notion of authenticity, it does not leave these conversations. And I feel like that is what we are seeking when we're looking for better connections through networking. And we're like, where's the group? When people are like, what group? They're really looking for who has authentic people.
Yep.
Where can I authentically go and practice dropping my masks and have better, deeper connections that convert into business and
Fun.
and fun. Like, if you can't have fun, what are we doing here?
That's it for today's episode of the Awkward Handshake.
We record at Sasquatch Media Grounds in Vancouver, Washington.
I'm Megan, co-founder of FatCap Design and creator of PDX Spellbound.
And I'm Mary, founder of Sasquatch Media Grounds and Sensible Woo.
You'll find links to everything we mentioned, guests, resources, and ways to connect with us in the show notes on your favorite podcast platform.
That's also where you'll get updates on where we're headed next and when we're inviting listeners like you to join us for guided networking in person and online.
Don't be passive.
Click the links, pick better rooms. We'll see you there.